This is Stab the Dragon Productions and an American Catechism coming to you from Fort Worth, Texas on Friday, December 26, 2025, where it is currently sunny and 85 degrees. Merry Christmas, and here are some Tomahawk cruise missiles for your stocking. The following statement is from President Trump on Christmas evening last night. Tonight, at my direction as Commander-in-Chief, the United States launched a powerful and deadly strike against ISIS terrorist scum in northwest Nigeria, who've been targeting and viciously killing primarily innocent Christians at levels not seen for many years and even centuries. Mr. Trump wrote on his social media platform, Truth Social, "I have previously warned these terrorists that if they did not stop the slaughtering of Christians, there would be hell to pay." And there was. All right, that quote comes from CBS News. I will be sharing my thoughts on this topic today while drinking an appropriate beer, Shiner's Holiday Cheer. Cheers to the Nigerian Muslims. For at least the past 25 years, I've been aware of the slaughter of Christians in Nigeria by the Muslims of northern Nigeria. At one point, about 10 years ago, I was working with a guy who was a student at a local medical school in Fort Worth who was from Nigeria. And so I asked him some questions, and he told me that Nigeria is roughly divided in half, Muslims controlling the north and Christians in the south, and that the Muslims are constantly attacking the Christians while the government is incapable or unwilling to stop it. That anecdotal conversation simply added a personal touch to what I had been reading since roughly about 2000. The Muslim violence in Nigeria is but one more episode in the worldwide drama that is Islam against everyone. After 9/11, when Muslim violence came home to America, I thought that we would take the problem of Islam seriously. Instead, we fought a 20-plus year war against terror and made sure we did not frame the wars with religious words and ideology. We wanted to avoid any hint of a religious crusade, although President Bush did use that term crusade at least once in an interview or a speech that I can remember. And so I said at the time, and I say it again today, that was a huge and dangerous strategic mistake. If you refuse to call your enemy by name, to recognize what your enemy defines as the grounds of their war against you, then you've likely already lost. Muslims expressly frame their violence against the West, Jews and Christians in religious terms. To them, violence against non-Muslims is an integral part of their religion. It's part of their mission. Islam must convert, conquer, enslave, or kill non-believers. There you go. The West, controlled by leftists for over a century now, is increasingly atheistic and secular and cannot think in religious terms. So we ignore what our enemies say, what they're telling us plainly, and demonstrating with their habitual actions. Even church leaders fail to understand our history from the past 2,000 years and fail to properly diagnose the actions and intents of our enemy and only give a partial solution. We have become feminized, pacified, and turned into tame puppies by our weak theology and accommodation of the world. This is sin. But the question for today is this: is it a good thing that Trump is now sending missiles into Nigeria to kill Muslims? Is this the MAGA thing to do? Does it advance America first? Or is this slipping back into the neocon world of being the world's policeman? Are we getting involved in another third world country for nation building with no clear goals, no exit strategy? Or is this a good and godly thing that the Christian West has needed to do for a long time? Cheers. First, I wholeheartedly support this action by Trump and believe it is the right thing to do for America and for the Christian West and Western civilization and for Nigeria. We must recognize that the West is a civilization that has roots in ancient Greece, ancient Rome, and Judaism and Christianity. Those are the bedrocks of our civilizations. And if that foundation is destroyed, our civilization will collapse. We also have Germanic roots and Viking roots. We're watching the collapse in slow motion in Europe, in the streets of our major cities, and of course in our universities. Our two greatest mortal enemies and moral enemies, are communism, including the lesser forms of Marxism like cultural Marxism, DEI, feminism, BLM, etc., and then Islam. Both of these things, communism and Islam, have purpose to take down capitalism, Christianity, and our republic. Communism and Islam both worship false gods and hate Jesus, the Bible, the church, Christians, Jews, America, and Israel. They hate everybody but themselves. To oppose Islam and communism is to stand for what is good and true against these wicked barbarians. To send missiles into Muslim terror camps is a good thing. But is Trump's action practically good? Is it doable, or will it end up like our other endless wars in the Middle East? This remains to be seen, of course. But this action was taken in cooperation with the Nigerian government. Quote, the Nigerian Ministry of Foreign Affairs confirmed on Friday that it was engaged in structured security cooperation with other nations, including the U.S., adding that the cooperation led to precision hits on terrorist targets. The ministry said that the joint security efforts include the sharing of intelligence and strategic coordination. Nigeria reiterates that all counterterrorism efforts are guided by the primacy of protecting civilian lives, safeguarding national unity, and upholding the rights and dignity of all citizens, irrespective of faith or ethnicity. Terrorist violence in any form, whether directed at Christians, Muslims, or other communities, remains an affront to Nigeria's values and to international peace and security, the ministry wrote in a statement posted on X, and I quoted that from Fox News. If we can effect increased security for the Nigerian Christians through actions like this, perhaps with some other assistance along the way from air assets or special forces, and avoid the use of ground troops in general, then perhaps the type of strike that happened will be a good thing. But how is this MAGA good? What stake does America have in Nigeria? Well, Americans and Nigeria have been in a friendly allied relationship for at least 50 years, and we conduct a small amount of trade, probably around $13 billion annually. But the big thing is that China has been spreading influence all throughout Africa rapidly in the past 20 to 25 years. China, read communists, is expanding its influence in Africa, building cities, bases, controlling resources, etc. And Islam has, for the past 1,300 years, expanded into Africa. And both communism and Islam are threats to the U.S. and peace in general, for the well-being of the world. So for the long term, it is MAGA to make reasonable efforts at holding back both Islam and communism wherever possible. Sadly and shamefully, our track record of doing this is a dismal failure. The Korean War would be about the only true victory we've had, but Vietnam was a loss, though our relations with Vietnam today are somewhat improving. The wars in Iraq and Afghanistan are pretty much of a loss for the most part. This military action in Nigeria should be prosecuted with great caution, clear aims, and restraints. If the U.S. can choose its battles carefully and successfully stop some of the worst excesses of Islam, and perhaps even halt its expansion in places, that will be a win for America, the West, and Christianity in general. It is noted that both Secretary of State Rubio and Secretary of War Hegseth are both outspoken conservative Christians, and Trump expresses some degree of faith in his public statements, actions, and beliefs. This action by Trump on Christmas night harkens back to the Revolutionary War and the Battle of Trenton, with the famous crossing of the Delaware River by George Washington, with ice all in the river, and then attacking the Hessian German soldiers at Trenton before sunrise on the 26th. So yes, Americans do know how to fight, and we will attack and kill you on Christmas night. Well done, Mr. President. Within the church, we need much better education about the Crusades and the long war of Islam against the church. We need more understanding of Islamic teachings so that we can properly defend ourselves theologically and politically. The church in general has become way too cowardly and shy when it comes to standing firm politically and militarily against communism and Islam. We have surrendered to the wicked, spineless, secular left. We don't spread the gospel by the sword, of course not, but the sword can affect proper political change to preserve lives of innocent Christians in Nigeria. The church should be thanking President Trump and praising God for this action. In hope, Signo Winkies, out here.